All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel. I'm the head of coaching with Agave Health, and thank you for joining us today. Our conversation today is going to be on emotional ROI, standing for return on investment, and turning feelings into focus. So, as we head into the final stretch of the year, life tends to get hectic. I know I'm feeling it right now. There's like not a single day of the week that I don't have some sort of school pickup or after school activity. And not only are you dealing with things with your children, if you have children, but there are also those end of year projects at work. There's upcoming holiday stress. There may even be additional financial pressure right now. So it's a lot to manage at once. And for adults with ADHD, that combination can make emotion regulation and focus especially challenging. So today we're going to explore how to work with your emotions instead of fighting them and develop the awareness and regulation skills that will turn that emotional energy into focus, motivation, and balance. So I'm joined by two of our amazing coaches today. I've got Coach Becca on the left and Coach CJ in the middle. And they'll be sharing insights and practical tools for staying grounded, productive, and self-compassionate through this busy season. So let's dive in, ladies. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Yay. Ready.
So can you tell me why emotions play such a big role in productivity for ADHD brains?
My answer would be because emotions are executive function. ADHD isn't just about focus, it's about our brain's ability to regulate our thoughts, time, and our feelings. And when our emotions spike, it's kind of like a traffic jam in our prefrontal cortex. So things like motivation, decision making, and follow through, it's almost like they come to a traffic jam or that there's gridlocks basically. So if we're not managing our emotional energy and capacity, then we're not able to be as productive as we could be.
Yeah. And I would say another one of those executive functions that's difficult is flexible thinking. And so being able to shift gears is just so much harder when you have ADHD. So not being able to compartmentalize and redirect your focus is just one of those challenges. And yeah, everything I agree with what Becca said.
Makes sense to me. So how do you explain the difference between suppressing emotions and regulating them? CJ, do you want to start us off?
Sure. I would say suppressing is a lot like masking, pretending that the feelings don't exist. And that drains a lot of our energy. And so it's kind of like squeezing a balloon tighter and tighter. At some point, it's going to burst. And so the opposite of that, which is regulating, is more about acknowledging and naming what's happening and sitting with it instead of stuffing it, basically.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think a visual I like to give is suppressing emotions is kind of like trying to push a beach ball underwater. It's like you can, like, eventually your hands are probably going to slip off and it's going to go. And the
Yep.
further you push it down, the more energy, the more momentum it builds up behind it, which is pretty, like, that's how it is for our emotions too. And I completely agree with what CJ said about, regulating acknowledgement is such a huge piece of it. And it's also, like, I think a big component of it too is learning how to respond instead of reacting. And I've found when we're suppressing emotions, the reactions tend to happen. And when we're able to regulate ourselves, that's when we're giving ourselves more choice and we're able to respond instead of react and stay in the driver's seat.
And I think too that wouldn't you say that sometimes reactions are bigger when you're pushing them
Absolutely.
down, pushing them down, pushing them down?
Yeah.
That was me at the airport the other day. Not proud of how I felt.
Yeah, and because we don't know what's happening internally, from an outsider's perspective, it's like it just came from nowhere, and
Yeah.
you're constantly asking, like, well, where did that come from? When all along it's been there, it's just been suppressed.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. I'd love to dig in a little deeper. So can you tell me what are some signs that emotion dysregulation and not actually lack of focus is what's getting into someone's way?
Um, I would say if you're procrastinating, even though you care, even though it means a lot to you, maybe you're snapping at loved ones, or you're stuck in some shame spirals, or you're like mentally rehearsing like worst case scenarios and just staring at your laptop. That's not just a focus issue. It could be both a focus issue and a dysregulation issue, but I've found more often than not, it's a dysregulation issue, and ADHDers often tend to beat themselves up for not being able to focus when really their nervous system is in the middle of a stress response, and they're not going to be able to focus because they haven't addressed the stress bubble thing going on yet.
Yeah, 100%. Perfectionism is a huge part of it. And noticing what's happening in your body is so important. But I would agree with all of that. Like for me personally, like reading the same thing like 10 times, that's usually a good sign that I'm not emotionally regulated. Because it feels like somebody's blocking you. It's like they're standing in front of you and you're like trying to see what's on the other side, but you just can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny to me that we're talking about this today because I think it comes back to awareness, right? Awareness into yourself and kind of what's happening. And I was noticing it just the other day. I had a stressful, busy day and hadn't really had time to process how I was feeling about being stressed and busy. And I'm trying to relax by listening to an audiobook, and I cannot follow the audiobook.
Yeah.
Like I love audiobooks, but my brain is just like not hearing it. It's into, I got to do this, this, and this, and I'm stressed and I'm tired and this and that. I'd like to go off script just a little bit. I know you'll be able to answer this question, but it is not on the list that I gave you earlier, and I'm sorry. But what can help you become more aware of your emotions so that you can regulate them better? Like, what are more of those signs that something's up that you need to take notice of?
That's a great question. CJ, you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind was like just the basic needs. So, are you hungry? Are you hydrating? Have you had enough rest? Those are usually where I start, because if those things aren't intact, if those needs haven't been met, then you're starting off on the wrong foot, and that it just makes it 10 times harder. I don't know if that completely answers your question, but that's immediately where my brain went. What were you thinking, Becca?
Can you repeat the question one more time just to make sure I'm still thinking? My cat is distracting me so much.
I hear her too. Love her. Just what are the signs? Like, how can you become more aware of your emotions? What should you look for to be aware of how your emotions are affecting you? Maybe how to name them. Because a lot of the times, we're just like, oh, we're stressed, whatever. But there are signs before that
Yeah.
you're missing.
Okay. Thank you for repeating that. Sarah.
Oh, and I think I rephrased it too. So we're just sorry, CJ.
No worries.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways I suggest clients approach it. I feel like it kind of depends on where you are in the awareness journey. So if you're like brand spanking new and you're like, I don't know, I would start with like, okay, what do you notice like physiologically? So I know for me personally, I start getting really flustered. I notice my heart rate goes up. I notice I'm like looking around and like eyes are darting, looking for something that instead of the thing that's right in front of me. Or maybe I just like, I'm very ADHD. Some days I just can't sit still to save my life. And those are the days that I usually have a really hard time focusing, but it's usually because I'm trying to avoid focusing on one thing. Now there's other days where that can be like, I need to get up and move because that's how I'm kind of using like the Pomodoro technique a little bit. But I would say notice yourself physiologically first. Like, do you notice your chest gets tight? Do you notice that your throat gets tight? Like, what are those physical symptoms that you can identify? Another one I would say would be, if you don't know how to, and I hate phrasing it this way, but I think this might be the simplest way. If you're not sure what to label what you're feeling, that's where emotion wheels come in really handy. So and an emotion wheel, for those who don't know, is just basically, it's like this wheel and it's got all these different emotions, and they get more specific the further out it goes. I think there's 5 that usually start in the center. So like the big ones, so like I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, and there's a couple others. And then it breaks it down even more. And if you still struggle with that, there's another one that I like to use. It's an emotion sensation wheel. So it helps you identify what some of the most common physical sensations are with that emotion. That doesn't always make it 100% true. It's about like, that's where you get to kind of decipher and determine what that actually looks like for you. Does that answer your question?
Yes. No, I really appreciate that. As we're talking about it, we're kind of like acknowledging awareness. And I know, and I'm looking at my questions like, oh, I didn't ask like what can help with that awareness. So I wanted to make sure that we touched on that. I appreciate both of you so much. Now let's shift gears a little bit. And what are some small ways that you can reset when you're finding that emotions are derailing your focus, and feelings like frustration, shame, or overwhelm?
Well, kind of building on what Becca already said, is I try to help clients, again, recognize what's happening in their body. Because if they can't name it, then at least they can describe kind of how it feels. And then after that, after we've identified what those physical signs are, then develop tools that's customized for them, because what works for me may not necessarily work for you. And so there are common threads throughout. Like a lot of times it's breathing, taking the time to just take deep breaths and pause and notice. That alone can kind of help with regulation. And then, like I was saying before, checking off the basic needs box. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I the HALT? I think a lot of people refer to it as
lonely and tired, right? Those are the last two.
Yes.
What was it? There's halts with an S, right? What was that?
Yes. And the S is, I believe, sensory. Is it a
sensory needs?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that sounds familiar. I know we've talked about it before. Well, and that's kind of like what Becca was talking about, the days that you need that extra movement, that extra sensory input.
Yeah. So I think a couple things I would add to that would be, like I said earlier, like there's some days where I step away because I can't focus, and there's other days where I step away because I know it's going to help. So the days I step away with intention, and that's the key word, with intention, I'm going to do something that has absolutely nothing to do with what I feel like I can't focus on. So maybe that is, I'm going to put my food in the microwave and warm it up and take a couple bites. Maybe I'm going to go use the bathroom, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do this next one thing. So I'm mapping out like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do something that's not related so I can get out of that emotional state. And then I'm going to take action, because you're moving. I think it's Tony Robbins says like the fastest way to change your state is to move your physical body, and then your mental state and emotional state will follow. And so you're using that momentum to get you out of the stuck place you might feel like you're at. Something else that I find helpful, I don't like to do it as much anymore because of sensory things, but running cold water over your hands, and just like shaking them off. In my mind, it's like, okay, I'm rinsing the BS off right now, and then I'm going to shake it dry. It's like literally like cleansing. Or maybe it's like going outside, walking around the house, or for me, I have horses. I can walk out to the fence and just like pet them and look at them and breathe in the air. So in all of those situations, I'm removing myself from the situation. And if you're in the workspace, again, like Can you go into the break room? Can you get up and walk around the office space? Can you do something that's small with intention that isn't related to what is maybe frustrating you or having you feel unfocused or dysregulated, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. And when you were talking about the workplace, it took me back to when I was working in a community mental health clinic and just having a really stressful day. And one of my coworkers was like, we're going to go get a Diet Coke at the convenience store across the street. Like, let's go. We're getting out of here. And, it's like 5-minute walk tops, but just removing myself from that environment for even a short amount of time and, complain about it along the way, talk to my coworker. And oh gosh, I love a good crispy Diet Coke. It took 10 minutes max, and it really helped me recenter. And that's exactly where my mind went when you were describing that. I wanted to pause here for a second. So we have someone who asked in the comments, I'm in a unique position where I've become self-aware when experiencing negative emotions, but still, despite the awareness, I'm feeling stuck in that state. What should I be doing when I'm self-aware and yet still stuck? Any additional advice? I know we kind of talked about some strategies there.
I love a good emotional ladder. If that person doesn't mind, are you one of our members already? If so, I'll send you a tool. If you're not, I can still send you a tool. I don't know how I'll get it to you, but that makes me think of the emotional ladder scale. So that's something that I like to take my members through. Basically, if you think of each rung of the ladder, as a different emotion, and like the lower vibe emotions are at the bottom and you're trying to feel a little bit better, I would say look at the next rung up and think, even if it's not where you want to be, like it's not like joy and gratitude or whatever, because that's at the very top. Whatever the next rung up is, like, can you reach for that and hold on to that emotion for a little while? Because that's going to be able to shift you out of that. And this is a very in-depth tool, like very in-depth conversation. So I know I can't give you like all of it now, but I can get that resource out wherever it needs to go.
Yeah, it sounds like it is one of our members, so we can definitely.
Oh, yay! Okay, reach out to your coach, please.
Pass that along.
Yeah, reach out to your coach. Tell him Becca said I'd send you something.
I totally agree with that, Becca, because it's amazing how creative our brains are in telling ourselves stories. And once we just shift perspective just slightly, it can kind of open up new possibilities that you hadn't thought of before. And so those questions are so important. Even simply asking, if your friend had a similar problem, what would you tell him? Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how quickly they can come up with a solution. And when they hear themselves say it out loud, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So shift in perspective is a great strategy.
I feel like that's easier said than done a lot of time too. So
very much so.
We understand that.
Which is why coaching is so valuable.
Yeah.
Do you have any other tools or advice to spark a mindset shift? We talked a lot about acknowledging emotions. And I know, especially this time of year, it can be very easy to get into like a negativity spiral because there's just so much coming at you from different places. What else do you have that can help shift mindset to something at least more constructive, if not more positive?
That's a good question. So you go first, CJ. I saw you were about to talk.
I was just going to talk about kind of the overwhelm that goes along with that, because the negativity typically comes from just a feeling of overwhelm, and you get to a point where you just can't anymore, and it's like you just want to give up and can't do anything more. And so sometimes when people get to that point, being able to get everything out of their brains and put it on paper and sort of allow them to step back and see it on paper, that can be a huge weight that's lifted off, and it can kind of get them into that space where it's easier to acknowledge what has been accomplished and what is yet to be accomplished versus, you know, kind of seeping in that negative mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Makes me think of the to-do list. It's like when you can get it all out there and you can, you know, look at, I don't know, it just makes me think like ta-da, it's better.
Yeah.
I like done. I think the things that are coming to mind for me is one, it's that emotional ladder scale, which again, that's a whole different massive big conversation. But the other two things is the first one I feel like is fairly simple. If you can get your brain to go there, is when you're in that space where you need to shift your mindset. One of my favorite questions to ask myself and clients is, well, is that actually true? Like whatever the mindset is that keeps like playing on repeat in my head. It's like, but is that actually true? And I'm not asking it from like a judgmental place or like, you're wrong. It's like curiosity. So it's like very gently like, is that true? Like if it is, okay. If it's not, that's where I want you to find other ways to prove that that actually isn't the case. Because when that's playing in your head on repeat, like you're basically looking for proof and evidence to make that true. So challenge it. Another thing I like to do that is along that same line is, okay, well, if you're stuck thinking this thing and you're stuck in this mindset, look at it from like a 180 perspective. So like, what is the complete opposite of whatever that mindset is that you're stuck with? Because if you can go from, okay, here's the complete opposite. Now you're not just looking at two, you've got all these things in between that you could potentially consider. So I want them to look at what's the opposite, and then, well, what's everything that falls in between there that comes to your mind? Because all of those things could be true. Which one feels better or feels more true for you that you could lean into right now instead of this thing over here that's weighing you down?
I'm like mentally taking notes for later. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I think that you answered my next question already. Are there any thinking traps or patterns that you see in your clients this time of year?
For
and
sure.
what does that look like?
Well, again, for me, it's just overwhelm because of all the things that need to get done. For some people, it's dread and avoidance, anticipating interactions with family members or work stress. It could be, you know, fear of being judged because we're often told we're too much. So all sorts of things that can play into the negative thought pattern. Another thing I would say is time blindness, because, you know, this is like the Q4 period. And so Q4 at the beginning of the year is like, it's so far off, you know, and we think in those two different mindsets, now and not now. And so as Q4 gets closer, you know, we run out of time, and the stress that comes along with that, and anxiety, it's not helpful. And so it can really contribute to that negative thought pattern that we see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the things I see the most often is I should be further along by now, and it can be really sneaky, and it makes us feel like, oh, I need to be more motivated. I need to be better at follow through. I need to be this. I was like, then the should start coming out. And what I found is that when we start saying, well, I should be further along, it's like that's really like there's an undercurrent of shame laying under that. And that mindset keeps people stuck in the all or nothing energy instead of reflecting on how far they've come, or, you know, what rhythm actually supports them or has supported them up till now. It's like, well, I should be further along. Everything that's worked goes out the window. And then they feel like they're floundering.
Yeah.
So time blindness and feeling like you should be doing more, or should be further along. What are some other ways that Q4 in particular can amplify ADHD challenges? Like what circumstances, I guess, of like the end of the year should we keep an eye out for?
Oh gosh.
Oh, well,
I'm sure there's a lot.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that overwhelm can lead to I don't want to do this anymore. And, you know, oftentimes people just give up because they get to a breaking point. The tools and the strategies that they've been using aren't working anymore, because of the wear and tear that has taken place that they were not aware of all along. They just can't. And so getting out of that I quit mindset can be difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think to add to that would be like, in the past, Q4 for me has felt like it's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of comparison, not just in the workplace with like, you know, data and budgets and comparing how your department did versus this department and whatever, but like with all the family that's getting together during this time of year, there's a lot of comparisonitis going around. I think also with a lot of end of year expectations. I made that word up. I hope he likes that. End of year expectations, like holiday shenanigans, routines getting disrupted, like the time blindness, like I feel like all of that creates a lot of urgency, creates more time blindness, and it can also create a lot of rejection sensitivity. It can ramp that up, and it can just like, and that's just a few of the things. I feel like the tip of the iceberg that can really amplify
So
everything from Q4. Oh yeah.
And that's why lean on your coach this Q4.
Please do.
We are here for you.
And also, I think on that note, Rachel, I just want to add something else here. Like, as coaches, we all have our own coach too, because we know the value of that. And if you're feeling that, like, we're human and we struggle with some of the same things, and we've learned, like, we know how to lean on our coaches. And sometimes it's not perfect. It's never perfect. So like, whatever that's worth, I feel like somebody needed to hear that. So.
No, that's such a good point. I totally agree. I've got mine.
Same.
Do you have any advice to help those watching either now or later finish the year with self-compassion? Some mantra or anything related to self-compassion. I think that is often one of the first things to go when we're feeling overwhelmed, because we just need to do it all. We should, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like to remind my clients that it takes so much more energy just to exist with ADHD. So they're not lazy. They're actually working twice as hard, just in invisible ways. So we're so focused on what we're not doing, and we don't take enough time to focus on what we have accomplished, what we have done. And so, understanding how we're spending our energy, it helps to give ourselves a little bit more compassion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would say zoom out. Again, easier said than done. But if you can zoom out, then instead of asking like, did I do enough? Or saying I should be further along than, by now, you can say, well, what did I learn this year that has served me, and I want to continue serving me as we go forward. I think the thing that goes with that too is I hear so many people, they think they have to earn their rest. And I'm one of those people. That's very familiar to me. So I think for those people, like remembering that you're allowed to wind down without having to prove your worth first. And also, compassion doesn't mean that you're giving up or you're slacking off. It means that you're giving yourself the capacity to like check in with yourself, give yourself some clarity, give yourself some permission to do whatever the thing is that maybe you feel like you don't get.
Shouldn't.
Yeah.
So self-compassion in itself is productive. So
absolutely.
All right. Thank you both. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh, I just saw that. That's Camille. She's mine. I'll send you that, Camille.
I thank you both so much for diving into this with me. And I wanted to ask you to close us out, if you have any final thoughts or takeaways that you would share with anyone feeling overwhelmed right now heading into the year's end. Any final thoughts?
You're enough, and you're making progress even if you can't see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would say if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's not necessarily a sign that you're behind. I like to remind people that means you care. and you probably care a lot and you want to do a good job. So it's a sign that you may need support in one area or another that you're not giving yourself permission to reach out for. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much. Right, as we're ending here, I just want to thank everyone who joined us today and anyone who is watching the replay. If you're not currently a member of Agave Health, you can scan the QR code here to download the app. We offer coaching and therapy for adults with ADHD. As you can see, we have some awesome coaches to work with, and highly encourage you to come check us out. And yeah, thank you again, and we'll see you next month.